here in the UAAP. It's over.
We'll do it. Ateneo with 3 straight championships in the UAAP.
Ateneo will win their 4th straight championship under Coach Norman Black. Congratulations, Ateneo. They join De La Salle, USD, and the University of the East as the only 4 peat champions in the history of the UAAP.
You can color the college basketball scene in hues of blue and white. For the Ateneo, it has been an unparalleled era of basketball success. 15 championships in 5 years spread across the alphabet soup of basketball leagues across this archipelago. And the center of it all is the UAAP, where the Blue Eagles have won 4 straight titles. But it wasn't always like that. In the grand old league, the NCAA, the Blue Eagle too was king, winning 14 crowns from the time of its participation in 1925 until the university's departure for the UAAP in 1979. It took a while for Ateneo to get its bearings, but when it did, the championships came in 1987, 1988, and 2002. Just when it seemed that Ateneo had returned as a college basketball power, came another drought filled with agonizing defeats. In the midst of trying to find stability in a basketball program that suddenly seemed rudderless, came an epiphany.
It came to my attention that Ateneo was looking for a basketball coach. They were actually looking for somebody from abroad. So I approached then Father Kaluwag and said, Father, there's a coach here that's available, and he's a good coach. He's a coach of the PBA, and he's a foreigner, of course. And I suggested Norman Black's name.
As you know, he had not coached college basketball, and so he really wasn't sure that this is something that he wanted or something that he would do well. He said, well, you know, I thought about this a long time, and I finally had a very long phone call with my mother. And after talking with her, she said, I think you should take it.
When Ateneo recruited Norman Black as the team's coach in 2005, it was really a recruitment coup at that time, because he was already one of the most successful guys around in Philippine basketball in terms of being a player as an import, the PBA, and as a coach, where he won 10 PBA championships. Well, if you'd compare UAP coaches to cars, he was like a Ferrari who rolled in the UAAP.
He initially came on board as a consultant to help the youthful Sandy Arespacochaga, who was in his maiden season as Blue Eagle head tactician. Within a year, he had moved to the sidelines as coach.
It wasn't as hard a transition in terms of him being already on board the past year. He's very easy to work with in that sense, you know. He has no air about him that I'm the head coach, you know. He actually asked for help and appreciated the help that we gave him.
In his debut as Ateneo coach, the Blue Eagles were shellacked by arch-rival La Salle by 28 points. Although Ateneo made the Final Four, La Salle made short work of them and booted out Ateneo in embarrassing fashion.
LA is picked up now. Parang naninigas talaga yung calf muscle.
A sad development and a sad ending here in the illustrious career of LA Tenorio.
The team missed the finals in his very first year. And you know how it is if you don't live up to expectations in the Ateneo community.
The following season, Coach Norman looked to have finally found his groove as he led the top-ranked Eagles to the finals. All season long, Ateneo steamrolled opponents. In Game 1 of the finals, there seemed to be some magic in the air.
I think Evangelista made the potential game-winning shot.
We have 4.3 seconds remaining. Everybody and his mother standing up here at the Big Dome. They go to Evangelista. Evangelista turns around. Oh my goodness! 1 second to play.
If you look at the video, Coach Norman was so composed. That's a championship poised coach right there, and up to this day, it still gives me goosebumps thinking about that.
That's when Norman Black proved na he's the master of X's and O's. No one in the UAAP could touch him sa X's and O's. Imagine mo, pinasok niya si Jai, pinasok niya si Chris, para lang gamitin, para lokohin yung kabilang team. Only Norman Black would have drawn up the play.
Jai Reyes will be sent back into the ball game. We all know why. It will all boil down to this one.
And you've got a small inbounder in Maki Escalona going up against a 6'5" Chester Taylor. Normally, you have a big inbounder. Normally, in situations like these, you have a tall inbounder to make sure he gets the pass over the defender.
Here we go, folks. Ateneo with one last play. They go to Doug Kramer, Anthony! Oh, what a play! What a play for Ateneo!
What a play by Coach Norman Black!
I cannot believe how this turned out!
People don't know actually that play. Some people think it was actually an accident and napunta na lang sa akin yung bola, but that was drawn up by Coach Norman exactly how it happened on the court.
Look at that.
Whatsoever.
Sitting pretty underneath, free for the under-goal stab to win it. Doug Kramer, an incredible assist by Maki Escalona, and he is in tears. The Nokia best play of the quarter wins the game for the #1 ranked Ateneo de Manila University.
But Ateneo would not win again in that final series.
And we ended up losing games 2 and 3, and to the dismay and to the broken hearts of the entire Ateneo community. And that was painful. That was very painful. And I was there. I remember crying in the court.
Yung natalo kami UST, ganyan. But it was really painful kasi yun sa yung first championship ni Coach Norman under Ateneo.
Pero nakita ko na natalo kami na umiiyak sila. Grabe, sabi ko. Ayoko maramdaman to na gusto ko pag-graduate ko, may ring man lang ako.
Nafe-feel mo talaga yung pagkalungkot ng community. Lalo nung nagsalita yung tatlo sa Jisoo. Tapos after nun parang sinabi ko sa sarili ko na ayaw kong pag nag-graduate ako, ayaw kong walang championship na mga makukuha.
Still, the heartache continued in season 70. Ateneo looked to have finally solved the riddle of LaSalle as the Blue Eagles swept the elimination round series.
LaSalle was back in the league because 2006 they were suspended. LaSalle was back. All the teams were stronger, and we were not one of the favorites, but we ended up having a fantastic run that year. But unfortunately, we blew a game against NU. That cost us the twice to beat advantage, and we were eliminated in the Final Four by LaSalle, of all teams.
And although pushed to the brink, the Taft-based squad trumped the boys in blue and went on to win another UAAP title.
The team had their downs and their lows as well, and it was good to learn from those experiences actually. And the nice thing about losing or falling down and failing is that it gives you an opportunity to learn and to be humble.
But there was no time for recriminations as Ateneo knew its time was coming.
That was a very depressing end to season 70. That was Ford Arrow's last year. That was the year where Franz Pomaran of LaSalle said that this is the one time where 2 is greater than 3. He was referring to the head-to-head matchups with Ateneo. But in spite of the gloomy end to season 70, there was hope in the air because we knew we were going to have arguably one of the best recruiting classes ever coming in. There was a lot of excitement in the air. You could sense that our time was coming.
The rookies came in at the right time. We had the right mix of veterans and talented rookies. And the best thing about that was we all meshed. The rookies didn't have any problems with the veterans playing ahead of them. The veterans had no problems with Ryan starting at the small forward position. Everything came at the right time.
Heading into season 71, the Blue Eagles were teeming with talent. They had skipper Chris Chu, who was clutch as they came. There was the pesky Eric Salamat, who wrought havoc on the defensive end and gave the team some swagger. There was Kirk Long, a gifted scorer in high school at Faith Academy, who would reinvent himself as a defensive specialist. there was shot blocker Nonoy Baclao and Rabah Al-Husseini, who was named the most valuable player in the 2007 Champions League that the Blue Eagles won. During that Champions League, the Ateneo Blue Eagles won the first title under head coach Norman Black, despite finishing 4th in the UAAP that year. Ironically, the team that the Blue Eagles defeated was the University of Visayas that was then bannered by Greg Slaughter. During that Champions League run, the Blue Eagles served notice that they were ready to shed their underachieving image. Center Rabah Al-Husseini finally seemed to be rounding out into form as he led Ateneo to the title. Al-Husseini continued his stellar play in the UAAP, where Ateneo raced to a 13-1 record before thrashing UE in the Final Four to earn the right to play defending champion and longtime tormentor LaSalle in the finals. Once in the finals, Al-Husseini showed no ill effects of his injury as he decimated LaSalle's front line on the offensive end, while forward Nonoy Baclao reprised the memorable sidelight of the 2002 championship. The Game 1 win propelled Ateneo to a sweep of its arch-rival and the school's first UAAP title since 2002, and the first of what would be an eventual four-peat.
It was just so sweet. It was like a perfect story because I was a senior. It's my last playing year. I was team captain, and we won the championship finally for the community after 6 years of drought, and against LaSalle. So it's always very sweet, if you're gonna beat LaSalle in the finals. Just one championship in my 5 years of playing at Ateneo has really changed my life, and that has brought me to where I am today. So
the albatross that hung heavy on Ateneo was lifted. Flushed with confidence, the Blue Eagles began to make short work of opponents, not just in the UAAP, but also in almost every league across the country. As veterans graduated, new ones took their place in leading the Blue Eagles to unprecedented success in college basketball.
Black celebrating his second championship ring here in the UAAP.
After the back-to-back titles, Ateneo fielded a team that did not have a dominant center, as Al-Husseini and Baclao had gone to the pros. Manning the slot was Jason Escueta, who came up from Team B, and a vastly improved Justin Chua.
The third championship, we lost Rabah Al-Husseini, Nonoy Baclao, and Jai Reyes. And people said that, we weren't going to win. But guys like, for example, Justin Chua, Frank Golia, we have guys like that who had to step up to fill in the place of Rabah and Nonoy. Did their jobs, they do their roles for the team, and whatever is needed for the team to win.
A big difference for us and an exciting thing was just how we really came together as a group, and we just sacrificed a lot for Coach Norman, for ourselves. We knew that we wanted to win a championship for each other more than anything else and for the school, so we really had to cut out a lot of distractions.
The team tipped off season 73 with a stinging loss to FEU. The rest of the league in the meantime sensed that this was the year where they had to snatch the title away from Ateneo, while Greg Slaughter was serving out his residency as a transferee.
What happened was they defeated us in the first game of the season and then in our very last game of the elimination round. So they were very, very confident about beating us.
Ateneo finished the double round robin eliminations with a 10-4 record. But once in their element of the Final Four, Ateneo made short work of Adamson before crushing FEU 72-49 in Game 1 of the finals.
There wasn't a certain guy who had a role that was going to be our dominant player. Sometimes it was Eric, sometimes it was Ryan, Justin, Nico, me, Eman, and so it was really every day was a new surprise who's going to take that offensive role. But what the most important key there was, Coach Norman had us all playing defense, and in that finals against FEU, we came in and our defense had just gotten so much better throughout the year that, we just shut FEU down and they didn't know what hit them, and we just had so much fun playing basketball that year.
In Game 2, Ryan Buenafe once more rose to the occasion by hitting a dagger of a three-point shot with time running out on the game clock to pip FEU 65-62 to give the team its first three-peat since 1931-33.
Although underdog talaga tayo noon. Sobrang ano. Tas first quarter, second quarter, tansahan yan eh. Kumbaga tansahan yan pag mga championship eh. Pero makikita mo first quarter, second quarter, pulusok na agad. Tas makikita mo yung FEU, pag tinignan mo, nagsisisiyan na sila. Wala na, parang second quarter pa lang tapos na yung laban nun.
First quarter pa lang, wala na akong boses. Na sobrang kaka-cheer because we blitzed them. Back on Austria and Tonino Gonzaga slapping the hardwood para depensahan yung guards ng FEU na hindi nila alam kung ano yung nangyari sa kanila. That third championship wasn't supposed to be ours. But then, we took it.
I even remember in that season, none of the Ateneo players won a major individual award. So I think it was really a three-peat title run based mainly on pure grit and teamwork.
The Blue Eagles hardly skipped a beat as Slaughter finally suited up, and former Ateneo High School star Kiefer Ravenna moved up to the senior ranks. And, for the third time in 4 years, the Blue and Whites posted a 13-1 elimination round record. Once in the Final Four, they dispatched tough nemesis UST before entering in a return match with FEU. The Tamaraws were led by their wondrous three-headed guard corps of R.R. Garcia, Terence Romeo, and Mike Tolomia. But a more complete Ateneo team swept FEU for the second straight year on the strong play of Ravenna, Slaughter, Monfort who put the clamps on the high-scoring Garcia, and Nico Salva who was named Finals MVP.
It was Eman Monfort shutting down who's supposedly the best player in the UAP in R.R. Garcia. 2 years in the finals, R.R. Garcia was the man. But when it got to the finals, when it was winning time, hindi siya makahawak ng bola. Hindi siya makaset up ng play kay Eman Monfort.
It's not the X's and the O's, it's not the strategy anymore, but you look at the heart of FE right now, they are just shattered and shocked with the way Ateneo has methodically broken them down here in the second half.
For me, I think it's guarding their best players, controlling the game, making sometimes 3-point shots. Chinaga ko lang talaga yung kailangan ko gawin for the team, for us to win.
It was a banner year once more for Ateneo as they copped the school's first ever Phil Oil preseason crown, the UAAP men's basketball title, and the University Games Championship held in Rojas City.
Every year, we're lucky enough to see a lot of the details of these events from the coaches who are tensed and the players who are tensed to the game itself where somebody makes a spectacular shot and a reaction or even a crowd reaction. Even the years where we weren't winning, been quite a ride actually.
Ako naman kasi galing probinsya eh. So I was brought up simple family lang, simple life. And then that call, for me, it was that call na tumawag si Boss Paolo sa bahay namin and my mom answered. Actually, wala ako sa bahay kasi naglalaro akong basketball outside na nakachinelas with pajak drivers. So that was overwhelming for me to see my family happy na ako yung anak nila to be in Ateneo, to study there for free and play basketball. Yun siguro for me is the best feeling. Bonus pa ng 3 championships, diba? So, what more could I ask for?
Even before UAAP Season 75 tipped off, there was an air of finality about it. As the summer set in, it was announced that this season would be longtime head coach Norman Black's last, win or lose. Black was returning to the PBA, where he first made a name for himself as a winning coach, as a Grand Slam coach.
We would want Coach Norman to leave in a good note, which is winning the 5-peat. I think probably the biggest part of this season is for him.
The preseason began with an epic collapse against San Beda in the Phil Oil Premier Cup. Although the team regained their bearings, eventual champion National University trounced them in the quarterfinals. Basketball analysts pronounced the Blue Eagle dynasty as one coming to its end. Once the UAAP began, they had to first fend off a tough Adamson team before facing their foe from España, UST, the team regarded by Coach Norman Black as the most dangerous in the league. The Blue Eagles came out strong, and they led by as much as 19 in the first half. But in the second half, UST, behind returning forward Aljon Mariano, staged a furious comeback to humiliate the Blue Eagles. Though they would come within one right at the death, the Eagles eventually bowed to the Tigers. The early loss to the Tigers sent a jarring message to Ateneo that this season was to be the hardest road to travel.
This year's gonna be pretty tough. From 1 to 10, I think it's 10 siguro.
We've been on the top for 4 years now and we just have big targets on our back.
No one wants us to win the 5-peat except us. Every time we go against a team, you can feel it on the court. They really pride themselves on trying to beat us and show us up.
You can see the fire in their eyes. You can see that they really want to beat us.
Every team was reloaded and specifically built to defeat the Blue Eagles. All signs pointed to this being the most exciting UAAP season in years. Teams got taller inside the post and more daring from the outside. And when good play wasn't enough, other teams got rough.
Everyone's always gunning for us. They'll do whatever it takes to try and take us down.
If you can't beat them, you try to beat them up. Just another motivation for us to win our 5th championship.
Kailangan lang talaga kami mag-stick together. Kasi kami-kami lang naman magtutulungan yan yung buong team on the court.
Though they no longer blew out opponents game after game like the teams of recent years, the Blue Eagles seem to have that extra something over the rest of the field, even in this competitive season.
That's why Ateneo hasn't been as dominant because other teams have really stepped up their game. But we're handling our business every day, game in, game out, adjusting to whatever they're throwing at us. Doesn't matter what they throw at us, laban lang, puso lang.
Every game na makatapat nila kami, pinag-aandaan nila kami, pero nasa isip lang namin na mas prepared kami sa inyo and mas handa talaga namin i-defend yung title.
There's a lot of pressure going for the 5th championship. Pero if we play as a unit and not as individuals, nobody could stop us.
Notably, the team and coach Norman Black developed a reputation for dramatic halftime adjustments. In their first round matchup against FEU, the Tamaraos would come out hungry for revenge against the flat-footed Eagles. Oozing with confidence, R.R. Garcia, Terence Romeo, and FEU's big men outplayed the Eagles in the paint, leading them by 10 at halftime. But in the third quarter, Ateneo's role players would take the lead on both ends of the floor, cutting the lead down to 4 by the end of the third period. Before Ateneo blitzed FEU in the fourth quarter to take the lead for good.
After the halftime break, something will change. Talo na sila. Yung kalaban. Exactly. There's no substitute for this magical thing called championship experience. So many games pala this season. Everyone would think na by halftime kung down tayo, shucks, wala na pag-gas Ateneo. Pero kami mga fans, hinintay lang namin mag-halftime. Hinintay lang namin yung adjustment ni Coach Norman. Kasi alam natin mananalo.
And that is not an accident. That is not off the cuff. It's because he has thought through the whole game plan. So he sees very quickly what has to be adjusted. And it's quite amazing.
All season long, the Blue Eagles would continue to display the disciplined defense, unselfish offense, and endgame poise that have become their hallmark under Norman Black. No mean feat, but they had ample talent. Ateneo's big three of Greg Slaughter, Nico Salva, and Kiefer Ravena would stamp their class as the league's most formidable scoring trio. The 7-foot Slaughter was the league's tallest player, unstoppable one-on-one, and changed entire games just by being on the floor. His presence would call for constant double and triple teams, leaving space for the versatile player Salva, who had one of the deadliest mid-range games in the league. And of course, leading the Eagles on court was the phenom himself.
Wait, dito. Ravena, all the way! Poster answers Kareem Abdul! I can't believe it!
Yet, what would set this trio apart in the league with some of the greatest young talent it had seen in years was their unselfishness and dedication to team play over individual awards.
We had 5 star players in one team, but everyone would contribute. Doesn't mean if you score 30 points day in, day out, talo naman, useless. We're happy with the roles. We've been winning, so nothing to complain about. Actually, isa pa yun na remind sa amin ni Coach Norman. Alam niya na kung nasa ibang team ako, si Nico or si Greg, we could have scored 20 points per game. But hindi, andito kami sa Ateneo. Perfectly fine yun para sa amin. You're not really aiming for individual awards.
That's the training that this team got from Coach Norman. They knew that above every individual was the team.
It wasn't about just one player, it wasn't about two players standing out. It was about every single player maximizing their talents and their abilities on the floor.
Indeed, every game, it was Ateneo's team play that would shine through. And everyone had his turn to shine. There was comeback king Ryan Buenafe, a star in his own right, who lit up the floor with his endgame heroics, on-court swagger, and clever playmaking.
Siguro ganun talaga ako sa work. Medyo hindi natin ngayon. Pero minsan, nakakatulong din kasi yung kumpiyansa ng teammates mo, nakikita gusto ka manalo. So minsan natadamay na rin sila na.
Point guard Wami Tiongson with his daring jumpers and outside scoring.
We have the big three. I mean, I really don't have to score, but then when they attract defenders, they're the ones who really give me the ball, so I'm the one who's free, so I just try to take open shots.
And role players like Nico Elorde, Oping Sumalino, Justin Chua, JP Era, Tonino Gonzaga, Frank Golia, and Von Pesumal, who all took their turns to take the pressure off Ateneo's tightly defended stars.
Ang limitation namin, parang sasobrahan pa namin para makita nila kung gaano kalaki yung puso namin para nanalo.
When a mid-season ACL injury ended defensive sub and rebounding stalwart JP Aram's season, still, the Ateneo machine kept humming along. Deep into the second round, it became increasingly clear, as many would say, that the road to the championship would come through Loyola.
When you're playing Ateneo, if you play scared, then you're gonna lose. If you play tentative, then you're definitely gonna lose. If you play hard, you still might lose. If we don't bring our A game, that's the only time you can beat us.
The season ended fittingly with a controversial thriller against UST, where again, Ryan Buenafe would show his audacity in the endgame, drawing a foul and a goaltend, then making a free throw to complete a three-point play to subdue the growling Tigers.
2 seconds. Mariano for 3. Wala. Tapos. Mariano has struggled the whole game.
There were bumps on the road, particularly a stinging loss against an already eliminated UE team in the second round. But in the end, the Blue Eagles topped the eliminations with a 12-2 record. After the most breathless UAAP season in recent memory, the board was finally set. Ateneo was back in the Final Four for the 14th time in 14 years, the most number of consecutive appearances in UAAP history. In the 75-year history of the UAAP, only the University of the East has won 5 titles. They had a streak of 7 titles, but that was accomplished when there was no Final Four, and during the 5th title, they were declared co-champions with UST. Over at the rival NCAA, San Sebastian accomplished that in the 1990s with one constant, Romel Aducol at center.
I think that the system that Coach Norman has put in place, if you look at the statistics of every year since we started winning, more or less it's the same. We lead the league in, we're number 1 in defense, points per game allowed, field goal percentage allowed. So even though we've graduated other players already who were very important parts of the team the previous years, we have players stepping up.
As they had all through these years, the Blue Eagles trusted in their coach and their system. And so the players and the playing styles kept changing, but the team has kept on winning. So the Blue Eagles returned their attention to LaSalle. This was not the rebuilding LaSalle team that they had faced the previous years, but a much improved team that was at the peak of its confidence, inspired by the play of Rookie of the Year Jeron Teng. Though the Blue Eagles had swept the eliminations against the Green Archers, the Archers were a legitimate threat. And LaSalle, the league's best defensive team, proved that they had come not as mere foils, but as worthy foes.
And Upsall goes high. Good move. And good decision. And Slaughter was denying him the middle. So
in the second half, LaSalle looked to have the defending champions on the ropes, thanks to tight defense and the determined play of forward Uten Andrada.
Andrada goes to the other side over Greg Slaughter. Both games has the assist again to Vosotros. They go down by 11 off the undergoal stab.
By the start of the fourth quarter, the Archers would lead by 11 points. LaSalle looked on track to force a do-or-die game too. But the Phenom had other ideas. Bucking foul trouble, he single-handedly hauled Ateneo back in the game.
LaSalle is not out of the woods yet. 10 on the 24. Ravenna wants isolation against Campos. Ravenna shoots the 3. Gets it to go! Ravenna leading the break. Gives it up to Johnson. Yes! We are tied once again from 11 points down. This is our 8th deadlock of the game. A spate of 5.
I just came to the game very focused, wanting to really end it on the first game. So, down 11 points, fourth quarter. Sabi ko sa sarili ko na, we have to play already. The shots were falling, so I just took it. It was just one of those days na, it was my day probably.
But LaSalle refused to fade, and Vosotros would put his team in the lead one more time.
Vosotros gets the screen. Vosotros with 3. Puts it up and in! Wow. And our 11th lead change of the game.
This called for another big-time player to make the difference. Ryan Buenafe.
Seconds remaining. Cut check time for Ateneo and LaSalle in the final 4. Buenafe gets it to go! That is his first triple of the ball game. But it is Tang. Tang drives, loses the ball. Ateneo possession with 3.4 seconds remaining.
The 4-time champs were back on home turf. The finals. But standing between them and history was their most formidable foe this season, the UST Growling Tigers. The average margin between the two teams this season was 1.5 points. It promised to be a series to remember. It wasn't only a historic 5-peat that awaited, but also an opportunity to slay the ghosts of 2006. The Growling Tigers were not the deepest of teams, but their starting lineup from 1 to 5 were some of the best, if not the best, at their position. There was one of the league's best point guards in veteran Jeric Fortuna, Jeric Teng, older brother of LaSalle's Jeron Teng, a gifted shooting guard capable of explosive scoring. There was the versatile Aljon Mariano, a highly athletic scorer and a challenging matchup for Nico Salva. And tireless center Karim Abdul, narrowly beaten by Bobby Ray Parks for season MVP. There was also sophomore Kevin Ferrer, a former UAAP Juniors MVP, who was denied juniors titles twice in a row by a familiar tormentor, Ateneo's Kiefer Ravenna.
Bahala na po kayong mag-isip. Basta kami, basta nasa lupa ang tigre, matapang Kirby. Thank you.
In Game 1, it looked like the prognostications of an upset were in full bloom as UST raced to an early lead.
Aljon Mariano draws first blood sa ating final series between UST and Ateneo. There have been palang inakatapat na itong dalawang to.
UST seemed to have an answer for everything Ateneo threw at them. Jeric Teng and Aljon Mariano led the early scoring onslaught.
A couple of fakes. May dugo. Oh, what a move. Oh, what a move.
Only Nico Salva's unstoppable play kept the game from becoming a blowout.
Salva, series of fakes. Just the footwork working for the graduating Ateneans.
The Growling Tigers entered halftime with a 7-point lead. But the Blue Eagles, as they have done time and again, came into the second half a transformed team.
We got the lead down to 7. And I told Paul, I was telling him, alam mo, nakukuha na natin yung mga shots natin. We were starting to be able to figure out their defense. And we're gonna win in the second half.
Even during the course of the game when they would lead around 10, 12, I knew we would get back because Just like in the past experiences, we'd always make a run in the third quarter. We'd make adjustments in the second half.
Nakakatawa nga kasi every time na magiging crunch time na or magda-down kami or tabla, I always talk to sila Gwen sa bench, sila Porter. Sabi ko, imposible tayo matalo. Sobrang dami nating clutch player. Si Ryan nandyan, si Kiefer nandyan, si Greg nandyan. Sabi ko, kalokohan matalo tayo. Tingnan nyo na lang, tingnan nyo mangyayari.
They're trying to get the fourth personal foul of Ferrer as they go to Buenafe underneath. Inusog lang ni Buenafe at ganun-ganun lang. First 2 points to Buenafe. Tabla tayo, 38-all. Slaughter. Ravenna. First field goal of the game for keeper Ravenna and a 12-0 run to give Ateneo a 5-point lead.
The Blue Eagles went on a crushing 17-0 run to lead by 10 points by the end of the third period. They scored 30 points that quarter, a UAAP Finals record.
The show on Ravenna. Ferrer recovers. Ravenna with a spin. Oh, what a move. That three-point shot got him going.
But the Growling Tigers, showing they were true title contenders, refused to be swept aside. They answered with a run of their own in the fourth quarter and traded leads with Ateneo down to the final minutes.
Agawan! Jerick Deng against Ravenna. Deng puts it up and in.
Nico Salva continued to reign on the Tigers en route to 30 points. But Ateneo would need a few huge plays to put the Tigers away.
But will they come out with a win? Buenafe for the big shot! Wow! Oh, wow! What a rally killer! Oh, Wami nakawala! Oh! Oh, man! Circus shot by Wami Johnson to give them a 9-point lead.
Still, the Tigers came perilously close in the final minute.
Deng for 3, gets it to go! This is not yet over. Back-to-back triple.
Until the Phenom coolly shut the door on the Tigers' hopes.
5 under 24. Ravenna shoots, gets it to go for the long two. Walang ibang humawak ng bola. What about that shot by
In the week leading up to Game 2, UST coach Pido Harencio would make heated comments on the officiating of the first game that provoked a rare public response from the normally reserved Norman Black. The lead up to Game 2 could not have been more rife with tension.
Things came to a head. This season is unique, and it was not just basketball. There were other things. The RH bill, the varsitarian, mining. In a sense, we were besieged from so many sides. And yet, as I mentioned to our basketball team, this is adversity. And this is what will define us, how we face these trials.
Game 2 at the Araneta Coliseum. After all was said, the two best teams in the UAAP this season let their games do the talking. The two squads would slug it out to a stalemate in an engrossing first half. Kiefer Ravenna attempted to impose his will on the game in the early goings.
Blow on Kiefer. Nakawala na naman! Just blew right by him. He can see the inexperience.
But UST, led by stellar play from graduating team captain Jerick Fortuna, would not have its will broken so easily.
Where he starts his drives from. Oh, crossover move by Fortuna, and then he steps back. A thing of beauty from the graduate. Last shot time, 29 all is the score. Mariano spins, drives, no!
At the end of the first half, it was back to 0. After the break, UST would give Ateneo a dose of its own medicine, beginning the quarter with an 8-0 run behind streak shooter Clark Bautista.
Bautista for 3, gets it to go!
Especially on Fortuna. That's all for now.
But the Blue Eagles quickly answered back.
9 out of 11 from the free throw line as Johnson. Slaughter with 3 personal fouls para dun sa mga kaka-tune in po lamang. Ang ganda naman ng pasa! A minute to play and some change. Ravenna, inilipat sa kabila. What a move! Keeper Ravenna able to go the back door.
But it was in the fourth quarter that the Blue Eagles championship experience would ultimately spell the difference.
8 in the first half and 2 triples to give them another 2-point lead at 49-47. Keeper Ravenna. I don't know if that shot is even legal.
Relying on tight defense and superior execution, the Eagles erected an 8-point lead over the Tigers with 7 minutes remaining. Greg Slaughter came back to life and punished UST down low.
They go back to Slaughter against Abdul. Greg Slaughter carving space for himself, and he muscles it through.
Still, UST kept fighting, and as Ateneo's offense suddenly ground to a halt, Kareem Abdul sparked a run that brought the Tigers within 2 with 2 minutes left. With history so tantalizingly close, the 4-time champions could not repel the fearless Tigers.
It's scary when UST makes their runs. You don't know when they will stop making those shots, and they're a very capable team. We make our runs, 7, 12-0 runs. Pero pagkita mo sa score, you're just up by 5-4.
After a turnover by Abdul that prevented UST from tying the game, Ateneo again looked to their stars to score. But UST's zone defense choked the lanes, forcing Ryan Buenafe to pass the ball to the least guarded man on the floor. And Magic Tiongson quickly proved himself worthy of the moniker.
Buenafe, no space to shoot. 3 seconds on the shot clock. Johnson lumapit na bahagya. Boom! Big shot. With 1 second, I believe. Yep, big shot there to give them a little bit more.
2 plays later, Kiefer Ravenna would make a play that evoked an all-time NBA great.
Ravenna gets the step, steps back. Oh, that is huge. Might be the
A lot of people were telling me it was the second game, it was Jordan-esque type of move. And upon seeing the replay, they were like, yeah, it was a little push-off, you know.
With 30 seconds left, the Growling Tigers, hounded by poor free throw shooting and shaky execution, were back in a 6-point hole. Jerick Fortuna would drag UST back within 3 on the next play. But in the final seconds of the game, Magic was on the Blue Eagles side.
Oh! Turnover by Clark Bautista! And that's it! And Ateneo wins its 5th straight title!
I'm really happy for the Ateneo, for our men, for our athletes. They looked adversity in the eye and they did not blink. It's a great time to be an Atenean. Ateneans know this. We can never be satisfied with where we are, with the way things are. Things can always be better and will be better, and we have to work harder. And that's the spirit that animates us. On behalf of the Ateneo de Manila, I'd like to express deep gratitude to MVP. MVP has truly been instrumental. Without him, this would not have been possible. He was the one who challenged us to go for this.
Actually, I never thought of winning 5 championships in UAAP. I wanted to win a championship or 2 to help me achieve my dream of playing professional basketball. It's just unbelievable.
Ateneo's 5-peat is special mainly because it's historic. The feat made Ateneo as the longest reigning basketball team in the UAAP in the last 40 years.
I'm lucky enough to go through 2 kinds of phases. So one is, I was happy to have 4 wins or 5 wins. I was happy to at least win once against LaSalle, and now we have this dynasty. It's very special now. I don't know if this can happen again. The 3 was already good, the 4 was extra special. To get a 5th one, wow, that's I think this will go down in the history book.
If you're talking about what keeps me striving to become a champion, I just don't know any other way. I'm not the type that's just going to go out and just do an activity just to do it. I want to be the best. I want to win. I want to find out how to win. We have to have the knowledge to be able to go out and share it with others.
In 2005, Norman Black became the 35th head coach in Ateneo Blue Eagles history. It took him 4 years before he ascended to the Mount Olympus of Philippine college basketball. And once he got there, his teams won 16 championships, from the Summer Games to the UAAP, all the way to the postseason tournaments.
To be the head coach of a team like Ateneo, it's one heck of a job, and it's amazing what Coach Norman has done, what he's been through. He has created a team that has made winning championships a tradition.
We can't really measure all the things he has given to Ateneo, all the time, all the little things he sacrificed for us. Very fortunate ako na naabutan ko pa siya dito sa Ateneo.
Every moment na kumbaga kasama mo siya, parang hindi ka makapaniwala na parang hindi totoo.
I remember being in the stands when I was a kid, and I said, one day I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna play for the Ateneo. And it's so surreal for me just to be in that court. It's such an honor, it's such a privilege. I think if you tell anybody, like a basketball player, to be in my shoes, they would instantly say yes.
Definitely, he will remain as a Blue Eagle coach for the rest of our lives. We can call the last 5 years of Ateneo the Black Eagles.
He's a rare kind of a guy. True gentleman. And an Atenean, if I may add. Our athletes, they represent us when we take to the fields. To fight the good fight. To run the races that have to be run. We see ourselves in them. It's more than a game. What athletics has shown us is heroism. Whether we win or not, they fought a good fight. For that alone, I think we will always be proud.